Game on. So, in the last episode, I finished playing through The Phantom Menace. So, I just figured it'd be fitting if, in this episode, I go through the super story of Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones. Now, I've talked a lot about this in my other episodes, so I'm not going to go over it. I'm not going to go over it much. God, I gotta say, I've been playing this game in my spare time, but since YouTube has copyrights and blah 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 blah, I can't have the music on. Which makes these crawls and everything else that normally has music so much less epic, and this is just a crawl going into space with nothing over it. So, on my last episode, so I released my first episode. I don't have a lot of people watching me, so my first episode got no views. My second episode got no views. My third episode did get, I think it's now at 8 views, and I don't know why it got so many more views than all the others. But I actually got comments on that, so I figured I'd talk about it. One person in the comments, if you're watching this and you are this person, thank you for watching my content. Please subscribe. I like subscribers. But you were asking about this game and then Lego Star Wars Episode 3 and the Lego Star Wars Episode 7 games. So, Lego Star Wars A Complete Saga is actually Lego Star Wars 1 and 2 mixed. So technically I'm actually playing through Lego Star Wars Episode 1 right now, which is why I saw the prequels, and then the original trilogy was all technically in the second game, which is why when they made the Clone Wars game, it is called Lego Star Wars 3, which is real confusing when you talk about it, because I thought the guy meant Star Wars Episode 3. I'm like, why wouldn't Star Wars Episode 3 be included as a complete saga? So that was confusing when I initially heard him talking about it. I will grab some torpedoes while I'm around here. So he was asking, he was talking about going through this game, should he get the third Lego Star Wars game? And I will say that I have played through that game, I think 3 times now. Once when I was younger, once much more recently as I played through it for fun, and then once again as I got all the mini kits and everything that I do to complete the game. I still have to complete that game. There's something that I haven't done yet, which is just like the ground assault missions, which is part of the reason I don't like that game. So here's sort of my review on Star Wars, Lego Star Wars 3, the Clone Wars game. It is the first 2 seasons of the show. There are 6 in total, but only those 2 were released at the time, so it's only the first 2 episodes. First 2 seasons. It ends with you fighting the Zillo Beast, which happens in season 2. Great episode, great scene, great level. I will say though, that is a game that you don't play through. You don't get it to play through it. You get it because you want to complete it. Because playing through it once, and maybe it's just because of how I play games, but it wasn't the same as these, and it wasn't enjoyable. It wasn't until I went back through and played it a second time and got all the mini kits and was able to unlock and do everything and had all the multipliers for money that I actually found that game fun to play. Which I would then have to say means that it is not necessarily a great game, because most people just play it to play it once. They don't go through and get all the achievements. Otherwise, it wouldn't be achievements. It's just it would just then be what you did. I got the thing in the middle. I didn't need it. I got these already. So if you are getting it because you want to play the game, I would say that only get it if you are a fan of the TV show. Or even if you're only a fan of Star Wars. Because, I mean, like, the storytelling in that is still good, but it's not as good as in here, where it's like you still know what's going on. Like, it feels a lot choppier. The second thing is, when you play through it, where here there's, like... Excuse me. 1 second. Man. Got a frog in my throat. Whereas in these games, you play through a movie, and that's a continuous story. In the others, you play through a movie, then the second movie, and the third, and it's a continuous story going all the way through. In the Clone Wars game, you decide which villain, being Asajj Ventress, Count Dooku, or General Grievous, you want to chase after, and then you play through the episodes that have them as the main villains. Which is cool, because I love those characters as villains. I think they were much better in that show than they were in the movies. I mean, Count Dooku, whenever I think of him, is the Clone Wars version of Count Dooku. But so I would say that if you like those villains, get it, play it, it's great. But then when you go through and you do all of the Grievous, then you go back and Episode 1 of Asajj Ventress happened at the same time of Episode 1 of Count Dooku. Which means that you're jumping back and forth between time periods, and the different levels don't have a lot to do with each other. They kind of try to have it so that they merge at one point where it's like, oh, and secretly you've been like doing this the whole time, and this is like the finale of like season 2, blah 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 blah. But it doesn't work as well as when you have a continuous story like you do in these games. So if you want that, so if it's the story you're going after, it doesn't have a great story. The gameplay is a bit bland. I mean, I will play through it, and if you are getting a game, if you're trying to look for a game to play through, because you liked just playing Lego games, or you're a fan of the cartoon and you know how everything goes already, I would 100% recommend getting the game. I will probably play it on my channel after I finish this, so you can see what it's like. Because, again, I like it once I've beaten it. Because that's when you get all the characters and everything. Some of the tedious parts of that game are the ground assault levels. Because they're not all just straightforward games. Like, it's not all straightforward like this one is. You still have some levels, well, not still have. In that game, there are some levels where you just have, like, missions where it's like, can I not go over this? There we go. Like, you get beamed down with a bunch of troops to the planet of Geonosis, and you have to use those troops to try and, like, destroy all the enemy forces. But it's just, like, they're hours long. And watching this, you know that it only takes me, like, 7 minutes to go through a level. In that game, the levels are much longer, so it normally takes me, for one of those levels, like an hour to go through it. So it's not something you can easily just sit down and play. It has to be something that you can devote a lot of time to, which is not what I play Lego games for. Lego games to me are a game that you can just sit down, not even necessarily wanting story, but just be able to sit down and be like, alright, I'm going to be doing Lego Star Wars for the next hour, or being Batman for the next, like, hour. And get a lot done. So so that's something. It's not what I want in a game. So if it's a game where, if you're the type of person who likes playing games because you like sitting down and going just start to finish, get it. It is a great game for that. But the hour-long blah 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 and the boss fights are okay. I mean, I am saying a lot of negative about it, but to say a lot of the positives and upsides are, like, the boss fights in it, and like all the levels are a lot more unique. Like, where in here it's like, okay, you kind of have the same story threads, blah blah blah. Since it's a Clone Wars, you have levels that are drastically different. Like, there's one where you're dealing with a mad scientist. There's one where you're kind of like in a horror setting where you're in, like, General Grievous's lair. There's one level where, again, you're fighting a giant Zillo beast. So you have a lot of change in your levels. Nothing's really consistent throughout it. Which, again, is a great thing, if that's what you like. What I do also like about it is, once you play through it, there's a lot in it that you can't do the first time you play it. Where on here, you can see it all, and you kind of can get, like, half the mini kits. In those games and in the, like, prequels, you can't. It's like, okay, now that you have a ship, this whole area unlocks, and you go through all this and you might get, like, 1 or 2, but then when you play free play, you get everything else, which makes you want to play free play more. So I mean, it's all up to the person. So if you are watching this and you're the person that asks, take what I'm saying, think about it. If you like the Clone Wars, get it. If you've never seen them, I would say watch the Clone Wars now on Disney Plus, and then try playing the games, or then try getting it. Episode 7, I would say, like, Lego Star Wars Episode 7. I don't know. I might hold out. I might say hold out on it until you get a chance to buy the new Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga. Because... What's up here? Oh, money. I can't get that anyway. Because that might have Episode 7 included in it, and it might be a more refined version of Episode 7. So, I would say hold out and see that, because that's a game that no one's, like, at a point where they're having nostalgia for it. No one's played that as a kid and has now grown up. Because it was released, like, what, 5 years ago now? Maybe 4? I know they're releasing the 9th movie shortly, and that's the 7th, so I would say it's probably been like 5 years. So I would say hold out on that, but if you don't want to hold out, I played through it. I really liked it. It was another one of the games where, similarly to the Clone Wars games, playing through it once, wasn't a fan of a lot of the early levels, but playing through it the second time on free play and a lot of the later levels, that's when the game starts getting good. Problem with that one is it's like when they try and turn a book into a movie. That is where they tried to turn a movie into a game. It's just, they try to fit so much, they try to squeeze it from so much that it just doesn't work. It's like The Hobbit. When I say book into movie, I mean The Hobbit. It was one book that they tried to turn into 12 hours of just non-stop video, and it didn't work. So when you play through that game, there will be levels where here it's like, oh, this is Kamino. You see all the major parts, 15 minutes, 7 minutes, go on to the next area. They don't have that in these new games. It's spread thin, where you will have an entire level that's dedicated to getting, literally this is the level where you have to get ice cream and cookies for 9 num, because otherwise he refuses to, like, leave the planet or destroy the Death Star or something like that. Like, a lot of it is ridiculous, and it doesn't have the same, like, humorous charm. Like, again, I don't know how old, I keep saying again, I don't know how old you are, but it seems a lot more childish in its humor. Like, in this, there's a lot of, you know, I guess not necessarily adult humor, but just humor in general, which can be found funny by a multitude of different people. Where in those games, it's a lot of just silly, like, oh, look, instead of a gun, he has a banana. So think about, like, again, if you're younger, maybe you'll enjoy it more than I did. But if you're, like, a teenager like I am, I didn't necessarily find it great. It didn't necessarily keep my attention. Or I didn't, like, laugh at any of the humorous bits. I mean, I still beat it, and 100% beating that game, like, once you have to go through and get all the gold bricks and red bricks by going through the hub worlds and completing missions, I actually found that really fun, because those missions are so different from each other that you never feel, again, it's that idea that it's not the same. So when you then have those missions that are just constant little mini games, and they're completely self-contained and interesting and fun, that's why I was like, okay, that's what I really liked about the game. The early levels on, like, Jakku with Lor San Tekka, which is the old dude who gives the map to Skywalker, to Poe Dameron, those levels aren't fun. But once you get to Maz Kanata's castle, that's when I think the game really picks up. And again, this is all subjective. It's different for every person. So, I mean, I would say that as much as I love these games, I didn't pay full price for any of them. I'm the type of person who buys a game. If there's a game I like on sale, I will 100% buy it. But if I know that a game isn't on sale, I won't buy it. So these games I think I got for a total of $20. I think it was $10 for both this and the Clone Wars TV show, and then it was $20 for the episode 7. So I got, and I completed all of them and spent hours on every single one of them. So I probably I spent $40 and got like over 100 hours, maybe even like 300 hours worth of content from it. So if you're the type of person that's gonna go through it, I would 100% recommend it, because you get a lot of time for your money. But also, if you're the type of person who like gets one game a year, or like one game for like the next 3 to 4 months, I would not recommend it unless it's on sale. Like, even this game, as much as I love it, there's a lot wrong with it, and I would not recommend getting this game unless you can get it on sale. If you can get it on sale, I would recommend it every day of the week, because it's just that good. So, I will say, if you play through this game, you do have levels that you don't like. I think there's actually money back here. Just let me check. Yeah, there's a lot. So, right now I'm playing through the Clone Wars, episode 1, playing through it. I'm trying to think if there were any levels that I outright didn't like. I don't think so. In this one, there's definitely one I don't like. It is the Geonosis, when you have to, it's the gunship level. You'll see it, probably not this episode, but next episode definitely. It is something that drove me crazy. And because I grew up with the original version of this on the Xbox, which this has on it, but it also has the remake, because a lot of people didn't like it. And I'll probably have a separate episode where I just finish everything else around that you can do that are technically levels. Like, there is, why can't I activate that button? Come on. Okay, guess I have to fly across. So there are, oh, can't make it. There are definitely some levels that they definitely had to change, because in the prequels, because it was the original levels, like the pod racing drove me crazy. It was just so goddamn frustrating in the original, because you kept dying and you hit anything. There was like a clip of your car like exploding. So where now it's like you hit something, you lose a heart, you continue on. In that version, it was you hit something, your pod racer explodes, and you immediately have to restart. So there was a lot of repeating sections, which is not fun. I mean, repeating stuff that you've already done is never fun, no matter what game it is. Oh, I should probably just swap to him. Come on, let me swap. I'm hitting the button. There we go. So, what was I talking about? And then the gunship level was the other one that I really did not like, and has left a bad taste in my mouth. So even though the updated levels aren't, excuse me, aren't probably that bad, they are still not great. Just because I'm like going through it, I'm like, I hate this, bring back fuck you. That's something I'm gonna have to talk about in the next episode, when I said swore there for a second. Is this the end of the level? I can't remember. No, I think I still have a fight with him, which we'll have to see in the next episode, because I'm already over time. So, oh, nope, I have to wait for him to go up, turn around, and everything before I can pause. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I know I definitely enjoyed recording it. You can see more episodes of this up on my channel. The old videos and new videos, all of the above. I think I'm going to try every day, or at least 3 episodes a day. We'll see. But anyway, guys, that's going to have to do it for this episode, because this is Game Over.